Hello everybody, and thanks for showing up on this beautiful day, and for most of you a long weekend. So like always when I get the honor to be here and always at other sanctuaries, I normally think about like, what am I going to talk about? And after I rack my brain about an hour or two over it and do some prepping, I just put it aside and go like, who am I kidding? Because my guides are going to tell me something else anyway last minute. So I did some prep for some other time. And here I am. And what came up quite, and it's always like the moment you put things down that you plan, you're back in the flow and there it is. So you didn't have to look in the first place. And that was one of those, and all of a sudden it popped up everywhere, and it was about simply the biggest messages are normally the most simple ones that are right in front of us that we are overlooking, and we normally expect the heavens to open up and this big light beam to come through. We need this huge heavenly universal billboard saying something, and it needs to come in those ways, and then it's like, I don't know, something needs to shake and a smoke machine needs to go off. Yet it is the most very often ordinary things in front of us, which we either take for granted or stopped looking at or just didn't really pay enough attention to anymore. And in this case, it's not even a small thing, because what kept on coming up is just people need to live. We forgot how to live. And it's like, we had this whole kind of like, seize the day, and then people go like, which day would that be? The one that is like, you have to wear a mask, you have to do this, you have to do that. The one that where the politicians screw us over. The one where this is like, because negativity has always been a strong force, and more so than ever now, in the last like, well, what is it now, over a year with this madness that's happening out there. And what that has done as well, it forced us to pay even more attention to the outside and not to us. Because now all the stuff that we kind of automatically had certain decisions over, like where we are, with whom and when and how, who we hug, who we don't hug, who we can see, who we can interact with, was now also taken. So now we're waiting even on that for people to tell us of what we can't. And what we forgot to do is pay attention and live where we can live, where we have the control over. We were switched and volunteered to switch into reaction mode. And life doesn't happen in reaction mode. Reaction mode is standby. That's not living. That means there is life, and I stand here in case, or waiting for, or there might be. So ultimately the message that I got was like, remind them to live. We don't know how to do that anymore. And people can get quite aggro about it nowadays. It's like, just, yes, there's a lot of nonsense going on. Ignore it for an hour or two. And you just do you. Because why? We don't know how to do us. We've forgotten. So the message is like, not just live, but live loud, live full, live crazy, whatever your crazy is. This whole kind of like, check into your senses, activate them. Don't become part of the whole everything is horrible. It is so easy to get into that. I'm not saying ignore the world. Yes, it's there. So look at it and then choose where you want to be. It's not like I've got to do all of that first. No, you don't. You've got to volunteer that. So this whole like, live, even before we get to live loud, live more. It's like, live. Be in the moment. Don't be ahead. It's a constant, like when you're in reaction mode, we are ahead of time. I want to know what happens next, that I can position myself accordingly in order to avoid. Again, we're in avoidance mode. Yes, there will be rules and regulation the world makes on whatever along the way, but in the meanwhile, I fill the gaps. How I choose, how I want to live, how I want to feel, and how I want to experience. Why? Because that is my choice. And yes, there will always be things I don't like. There will always be things that are less than ideal. But the world has never been ideal, because what's ideal for the one is chaos for the next. There is no one suits all. as much as this whole pandemic thing at the moment is chaos for so many. It is fabulous for others. And not just in a horrible way, as much as this pandemic was devastating for lots of people with losing people and jobs, others who took the opportunities really, really were able to turn it around, not from a bad perspective, but from a good perspective. Everything is neutral till we attach something to it. Everything. So we've got to consciously choose. That's the living part. If it's a pandemic, if it's like a job, if it's the horrible boss, if it's like family members we worry about or that we find difficult, we have choices. But when we live in reaction, we don't use choices. We wait till somebody else gives us choices and then react to those. We don't live. And nowadays, it's nearly like we don't give ourselves permission to live, because that's the only thing we need, our own permission. No matter who says what, nobody can actually stop you from living if you're helping to do so. Nobody can. It's something we need to volunteer. It's something we need to align ourselves with. Now we also need to align ourselves with the stuff that we don't want, which we by now are way too used to. That's now the automated setting. Instead of saying like, but I don't like that. Why do I keep on doing that? I don't like the horrible news, so let me watch another 2 hours. I'm too much on social media, so let me just be another 3 hours on it, because what else is there to do? Well, get out of the house. Initially, when we had the lockdown kind of thing, everybody was like, oh my God, I can't get out. Everybody wanted to go jogging. They didn't even have tackies, but everybody wanted to go jogging. A year down the line, nobody wants to come out. Now they can go jogging, they can go to the beaches, they can go. They're like, oh, no, I'm quite happy in my space. But I'm not happy, but I'm like, no, this works for me. I don't mind working from home. Nobody asks you to stop working. But if you're not happy, you've got to do the adjusting. You've got to choose to live. And even if anybody wants to do it for you, they can't. You've got to do the living. And this living by proxy is kind of like, well, as long as the kids are happy and as long as I have that. And no, the living isn't out there. The living is here. And it's nice to have a job. It's nice to have an income. And of course, it's nice when certain people and environments match that. But you've got to start the party. And it's your party. What is supposed to be matched? If people and environments don't know what to match, that's going to be a bit of a mess up along the way. If you don't send the party invitation, tell them what it is about or what to bring, or if there's a theme or if there's no theme, or where to even meet you for the party, guess what's going to happen? It's going to get a bit distorted, to put it mildly. Why? Because we haven't put a clear imprint on this life that we are living. Because living is, everything is energy, so is living. You've got to put the imprint on the world, that the world can react to you. It's an inside out, not an outside in. We need to get away from this, like the world tells us what to do. If it works for you, great. But checking by the aura colors here, there's a lot of frustration going on. There's a lot of, I'm over this. There's a lot of, and also it was like, we don't dare to live anymore, especially now. We don't dare to be happy. We don't dare to have joy. We don't dare to laugh because there is so much misery in the world. So let's rather be part of it. Yes, there's misery, and I'm not saying don't be empathetic. It's got nothing to do with that. But instead of joining the lower frequencies, wouldn't it be more beneficial, even for those that are caught in it, to bring the higher frequencies which is left, that they find it a bit easier, that they see one more lighthouse, that they see one more light, that they hear one more light to frequency, that they have one more option, that they see one more like hope, that they see one more smile, that they have one more hug even if it's not allowed. That would do way more good for you and them than sitting with them in a hole. That is a choice. And when people say, I don't know who I am anymore, that's okay. Just write a new song, write a new book, and create a new frequency. Because when people say, I just want normal back, you ain't gonna get it. that normal is gone. It's kind of like saying, I want to be when I was 10. That's not how life works. It's about growth. The triggers are different. Yeah, we got a big one, but it ain't. It's nothing more than a trigger. It's a big one. They come in all sizes and shapes and whatever forms, but it's a trigger. It's for us what to do. And it's for us to consciously choose right now what to align with. Energy is an inside-out movement. It's like throwing a stone into a pond. Which way does it ripple? The entire pond will be affected by it. Some more, some less, depending on how close they are to where the stone fell. But that ripple, that one little stone in the big pond, determines for quite a while what it affects. And not just on the surface, the ripple also affects what's underneath the water. Don't underestimate that. And then you get people that have no hope. If we don't live, there is less hope. And it's like, what is one little pebble going to do? Well, it's just oxygenated that little plant in the pond, and it just got that fish to get out of the way of that hook that was nearly going to catch him. You might not see it, you might not have the knowledge of it, but it is nevertheless happening. There might be a message you get 3 weeks later and say, you've got no idea what difference it makes to just have the 2-minute chat with you. You're blissfully unaware in those 2 minutes, but you have no idea where the other person is at. Don't underestimate that. But you've got to consciously choose to live, and live in the frequency that we choose. There's no use like writing your own song, wanting your own frequency and doing your own thing, but then dancing to the other's tune. There is that at times where you consciously choose it. I'm going to go there, I want to be part of that, and I come back to mine. I want to bring mine consciously to someone else's, and then we make some nice music and off I go. That's okay. But you need to know when it's theirs and when it's yours, and if it's beneficial or not. We've got to give ourselves permission to live. Live loud, laugh loud, smile. I'm not sure if you guys realize that over the last year, the colors disappeared because we would automatically dress according to the energy. So instead of bringing more colors, the colors disappeared. People go into like the grays and the blacks, and because it's an automatic thing. Subconscious thing, and we go down. Or then those that kind of like have a bit of an inner thing would have gone for the reds and the yellows. Is anybody going for red and yellow lately? Because red is about standing in your power again. Yellow is the solar plexus. It's like, no, this is not okay with me, and I'm not going to fight it, but I'm going to create. I'm going to live so loud and so unmistakably that either I'm becoming a lighthouse, or those that don't match are actually just falling off. And that's also okay. Because a ripple is an inside out. And don't you dare not to give yourself permission because you feel you owe somebody to be miserable. Nobody wins. Nobody wins. So this is live. Live. And when people say like, we can't just go and have a good time, says who? Who is people? You are people. And if you say, I want to really feed my soul, how is feeding your soul ever wrong? That's coming from love. Everything else is coming from fear. And fear is a flippin' bully. And fear is taking over. So that one got to leave the playground. So you can't argue with the bully, but what you can do, flood it with love till it's got no playground anymore, it joins you. It's no use to bully a bully. It's counter-effective. And this is like we've got to choose that. And everything we do changes the world. So we've got to move with intent. And we've got to make sure it comes from love. Yes, people are angry and people are sad. And some people have to deal with immense loss and all of that. But there's also others that celebrate. And that's okay. Not everything is personal unless we make it personal. But make the choice to come from fear or to come from love. Because what we bring, who we are, is what we bring to every situation. And that's our power. We've got to take that back. No use fighting what we don't want. Let's bring what we do want and just flood it out. So live loud, unmistakably. Find your song and play it. And if they come with tunes that are not yours, either play it louder or play somewhere else and make your own party. Don't stop your tune because somebody else plays music that you don't like, or that is not resonating with you, or they're not ready yet to listen to different music. That's all right, but don't force yourself into frequencies and energies that are not yours, or feel you are obliged and owe somebody to match what you are not. That's on you. And it's okay to have a day where your song sounds different to another. It's okay if you have two songs that ultimately always come back to your baseline. It's okay when you have a day, it's like, well, today I don't feel like a ray of sunshine. That's okay. But then remember your base song or your base frequency. We haven't even got one 90% of the time. Very often I hear, I really want to feel like this and I want to feel like that. Okay, but you're surrounded with patterns, ideas, people, environments that bring you the opposite. Change the formula and sing your song till you are at least halfway on the other side. It's not against anybody, it's actually for them. And this is where we get caught. Don't underestimate your power. It's like, oh, who am I? Well, who are you not? We are all interconnected. We're all a piece of the universe. And us saying, like, who are we? It's kind of like saying if you have to speak clock, kind of like, you know, the Swiss watches, which have like a million little thingy-magodies in it. If one little one doesn't work, the whole wonderful, expensive, fancy watch doesn't work. It's not about the big, like, whatever, I have to be a big part. No, you have to be a functioning, well-oiled part that is well-maintained. That's what you got to be, to work for you. Because if you don't work, nothing around you works. It's that simple. And that's a choice. Give yourself permission to love yourself. Give yourself permission to sing your song. Give yourself permission to oil this piece that you are. And that is love. This is time. This is attention. What's your inner self-talk? Be careful where you are around or not. Choose. Don't react. Choose. And stop hiding that you're happy or that you want to be happy or that you're seeking that. Don't say yes to what you want to say no to, and don't say no what you want to say yes to. We do that non-stop. This is so back to front. And it doesn't serve you nor the other. Live loud. It's contagious. It is contagious. This whole, we don't want to be seen, we don't want to be heard, we don't want to like, well, if not you, then who? Then it's going to be those that have the louder voice. And at the moment, as it goes, the empty vessels are the noisiest. And at the moment, everybody runs for fear. So there we go. Play your tune louder. Just play it. And also, this whole live your life on purpose. If you get up in the morning, you're kind of like, oh my God, what is it going to be today? Set your intent. Put your order in. Tell the day what you want. You set yourself what you want. Remember, it's an inside-out thing. Live with intent. Otherwise, it's like another year gone. It's like, where did the year gone? What even happened? Or like very often they said, like another year, another show. Well, was it that? Because you obviously, there was another year. There was 360-something days. But who filled the gaps? Only us. There were puzzle pieces thrown around us, but where we put them and how we used that was on us. And you don't have to catch every ball that's being thrown your way or use every puzzle piece that's being thrown your way either. You do not. Don't hold yourself to that. How often do you deal with something before you even start? You go like, but you do it anyway. And how often do they really need to be done? No. Give yourself permission to put things down. Give yourself permission to say no to what's harmful to you and what's toxic for you and for those around you. But at the same time also, with being kind to yourself, automatically kindness will go out to others. Because what you bring and what you are is what goes out. You being kind to yourself will fill up you, and what flows over is kindness. Fill yourself up with love, what flows over is kindness. Fill yourself up with understanding and cutting yourself some slack, and that will also flow out. It's no use being kind to the world and flog yourself 24/7. That's not maintainable, and it doesn't serve anything. Fill up here. The more you fill up here, the more can flow out, the more it's like an automated refill thing. It is. The more you fill, the more goes out, the more comes in. It's like this, whoop, whoop. If you do it the other way around, it doesn't work. Then we run on empty, and then we have all kind of issues with it, and then it's a physical issue, and then it's a mental issue, and then we have depression, we have anxiety, we have irritable bowel syndrome, and off we go, because that's being aligned to the lower frequencies. So we've all tried that. That ain't working for us, is it? And it shouldn't be working for us, because that's not our natural frequency. That's not a frequency based on love. That's not a frequency based on growth. This is not our birthright. This is not how the universe works. And we are the universe in 2 legs. Full stop. I always said you've got to learn to live, or how to live from 2-year-olds, because darn, they have it down to a T. They don't question their worth. They don't question what they can or cannot do. And of course the world is there to be their playground. What do you mean? But we've unlearned that. We've removed permission to ourselves to do that. 2 years old don't even know they need permission. They're just, it's like, what do you mean? You can tell me what I can do or cannot do. Of course I can just do that. If we look at those kids at that age, they're just full of wonder. They're full of joy. They are full of curiosity. They get excited. When last were you really excited about something? And I'm not talking Sunday lunch. I mean really, truly excited about something. Something that got like the butterflies going and like the whole system going. It's like, yes, I cannot wait for that. When last did you have like a full-on kind of like such a sense of achievement for on a personal level, not on an outer level, for you? That you go like, yes, I've been waiting for this and working towards it for how long? Because we live a subdued life, because we don't allow ourselves that. And we've got to link out a bit more of others as in sorting their lives, live ours, that we can just pour it into others, that they can live theirs and have those experiences as well. Give yourself permission to live. It's not never been supposed to be that complicated. We made it complicated. Look at a 2-year-old. Doesn't look complicated to them. And they've been simply born like that. This is before they learned all kind of stuff and distortions, and I should and I could and I what and what. They're fine. And this is our original way. We've all been born. So that's literally our birthright. Every single one was born that way. And then we've unlearned it or unconditioned it or whatever, and then we spent the rest of our adulthood to get back to it. Just hang out with 2-year-olds and kind of join them. Join them, not hang out and kind of like make sure and provide for them and just run around them and do stuff for them. Join them. If you have to, sit in the mud with them. Have a flower fast in the kitchen with them. Go in the water with the pants rolled up and whatever it might be. Do the sandcastle stuff. Laugh over silly stuff. Make weird noises with weird body parts. Whatever they do. But it's like those little things that is there. It doesn't have to be like expensive, extravagant. You do not need anything but simply giving yourself permission to be in that space. Live. And with that, don't underestimate what you bring into the rest of the world. So the more you love yourself generously, the more you love the world generously. And with that, we're going to tip the scale. That's the law of the universe. It's the law of energy. That's even science. There's no use fighting what we don't want. But creating more of what we do want will automatically wash out what we don't want. That's just how it works. What you concentrate on, you get more of. It's way more fun creating what we do want than trying to find what we don't want. It's way too exhausting anyway. So this has literally become a life with possibilities instead of seeing restrictions. It's all we see because that's all we're being told right now. What we look at is what we get more of. So live, get crazy, get silly. Put down all those obligations, I should, I could, or whatever. Put them down. Put them down. Do it an hour or 2 at a time and start extending. After a while, it becomes addictive for all the right reasons. But go for it. Go for it. This is what we're here for. So, but find your song that you want to imprint, that you know when it's yours and when it isn't yours. Find your frequency. Does it feed or deplete me? Does it come from love or does it come from fear? And be that beacon. Be that crazy person that people will call crazy. Why? Because it's different. So crazy is the place to be. Because that's what you want to be, because everything that doesn't fit the norm. And at the moment, the norm is the worst energy you can have. You do not want to be the norm right now, because it's literally harmful and toxic. So be everything but that right now. There's nothing normal about us. That's actually an insult, I think, but anyway, it's like we have our own thing on it. So it's an inside-out motion. Put your imprint on the world and don't allow the world to put their imprint on you. Because ultimately, the more you love yourself, you love the world. And it's really time to live louder, and generally way more of it. Because it's really time that we love each other back to life. Thank you.
Thank you, Heike, for those inspiring words.
Thank you.
And you're absolutely right. There is